Hey everybody, welcome back to the second live stream of the day. I am here in my studio once again, bringing you some late breaking news on Tim Ballard, the founder of Operation Underground Railroad, former CEO, denounced by the LDS Church, and I have some good news and some bad news. So if you would like me to bring you up to speed, I will do that in 30 seconds, but there is a new article out from The Blaze that we are going to waste no time getting into. We have some good news and some bad news. Some good news is my sources were correct in the last previous videos. If you watch them, the ways that, people like Cardin and guys, the Mormons over there at Word Radio and so much of the Mormon internet, I won't say all of it, but could not fathom, could not believe that the fraud could be as big, could be as detrimental, could go as far as I knew that it could. I have been studying intensely the fraud of Tim Ballard, and when people were saying things like, okay, well, they couldn't denounce him, but well, yeah, they did denounce him. Well, they couldn't have had good sources. It was from it was good sources. It was from the Davis County and the FBI's investigations, O.U.R's internal investigations. It was 7 women. That's not just some Kavanaugh thing of a political hit job. And now we're at the point where people who are still in this rabid Tim Ballard phase are gonna have to deal with his former bestie, Glenn Beck, having these women reach out to him, tell their stories in similar ways that they've talked to Eric Mustos, who I've played his clips. I believe Greg Mattson, who's a LDS, pro LDS YouTuber, and a lot of other people in the circles, people at Word Radio, like Cardin, hearing that certain things have been intimated to him. And it wasn't until the last video where I was like, no, dude, you guys, Mormons, you're not getting it. You're not actually dealing with what these allegations mean and the severity of them. And I'm really, really disappointed. That's the bad news, that I was correct. And the sources that I had were quite forthcoming in the information that I was told. So if you caught my last live stream a couple days ago with Shalise and Jonathan, it's a really good one, and I lay a lot of things out. But this is just going to be straight to what this article says. So if you've been following, Tim Ballard has a lot of, accusations have been flying around, but let me tell you about the couple's ruse. It's this thing that we do where the female operatives, they play the go-between, and, if there's a child or, something being offered up, then the wife can be there and say, no, that's my man. Save that thing that you're doing till later, you crazy, crazy sex fiend. And it's like I said in my video a week ago, when the allegations came forward, that this isn't about just like a couple's ruse where they need to pretend they're a couple. The allegations from Davis County investigators, from these women, have to do with showering, sleeping in the same bed. And then, as Eric Mustos and others have said, who have talked to the women, this has to do with oral. This has to do with blackmail. This has to do with a lot of other things that once it crosses the line into certain descriptions of different sex acts, there's no couple's ruse to that. And Tim Ballard has been grasping at straws to not let people think that he is anything but this perfect Messiah and Savior for Mormonism. And he has told people, in his response on his Spear Fund website, all the allegations are false. He says people just make things up because they're trying to stop the movement of sex trafficking. And with the church's denouncement saying that Tim Ballard has done morally unacceptable things, and that's called into question from the beginning, what are those morally unacceptable things? And back when I was like, it has got to be something major. Didn't we all say it has got to be something major? And slowly but surely, it's using M. Russell Ballard's name, the apostle, to act like saving children and spending donor money and going on these operations with a psychic named Janet Resson and paying her 6 figures a year is all approved by M. Russell Ballard. If 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 Tim Ballard is able to have this much jet fuel of fraud and be able to tell this much lie, this much deception for so long, it really does indicate the character of a person and their capability to just move forward with lie after lie after lie, thinking that they'll never get caught. That they can throw up this smoke screen that, like, if I do enough fraud and I say I'm running for political office, or if I do enough fraud and I say that I'm saving the kids, anyone who's against me is against me saving America, saving the kids. It's all, as Mayor Eric Mustos, his former friend, has said, this is Tim Ballard trying to play up his name favorability. This is him trying to win approval in the court of public opinion. And now I'm getting to the point where these women who are finally speaking out and telling their stories, they are incredibly heroic, and I cannot. I tried to explain it in the last podcast, but I need to explain this again. That the sources have told me that these women are very fearful, and it is very scary and difficult and traumatizing to, put your name out there and be fearful that you won't be believed. And that is a risk that you take by trying to tell your story. But I'm really, really proud that these women is assuming that this is exactly what they wanted to do, that they have been brave enough to reach out to Glenn Beck and say, okay, you have a platform. These women are mostly, conservative. They worked for Operation Underground Railroad. They're mostly Mormon. So people who look up to somebody who is a conservative and is a Mormon, like Glenn Beck, and say, this other conservative Mormon, he has been doing these manipulative, grooming, sexual acts with us, and it's time that his fraud gets put to an end. All that and more from this article. So that's the bad news, that there's some serious stuff, and they lay it all out in this new Blaze article that just dropped about an hour ago. And if you are liking that I'm doing so much content right now, you know that you can drop a super chat, keep your comments coming. I'm just going to try to get through this, reading it. I have to go home to be with my kids at some point today for dinner. And all the links to my places to donate are down below. Thank you guys for tuning into this next live stream. So a couple days ago, Glenn Beck, on his radio program, he said that something's happened. These women, these alleged victims of Tim Ballard, have reached out. Okay. So it started with these quotes and internal documents kind of being floated in these Vice articles. And 7 women, that's a lot. That's some serious charges of why Tim Ballard left O.U.R. under sexual misconduct allegations by 7 women. Okay. And then it goes from their quotes in the article about showering together to them hiring an attorney. And about a week ago, that attorney reading a statement. And then just a couple days ago, Glenn Beck says, all right, the women have come to me. And just like Eric Mustos said, it's going to get out. At some point, these women are going to tell their story. So the person that they decided to talk to is Glenn Beck, longtime friend of Tim Ballard's, partners with Tim Ballard with this Nazarene Fund. I don't have a whole lot of favorable things to say about Glenn Beck, but there's a time in which the saying, a broken clock can be right twice a day. And it's one of these instances where I hope that we don't look at each other as people who are correct clocks most of the time, and other ones are broken clocks. That everybody is a broken clock. We all set our watches and our times to somebody else's broken clock. All we can do is just try to align ourselves with the right time as often as we can. So instead of saying, broken clock is right twice a day or something of that nature, I'm going to say think everybody should rise up and find it within themselves to disagree with the clocks that you already assume are telling you the right time all the time. Because everybody in your own circles, conservative, liberal, religious, not religious, setting your clock to somebody else is leading to hero worship and this cult-like status. And we're at this point where these women don't know if they're going to be believed. And it looks like they have presented their evidence to Glenn Beck. And he says that he believes them. Same with what I believe Greg Mattson said, what Eric Mustoff said. That once they've seen the evidence, people who have every reason to disbelieve women, to think that they are making it up for political reasons or whatever. I'm assuming the Mormon Church has seen a lot of evidence too, because it sounds like they've also excommunicated Tim Ballard for these same reasons, for this morally unacceptable behavior, for this using the name, invoking the name of M. Russell Ballard for Tim's personal or financial, but personal underlined interests. So Glenn Beck, he believes the women. He asked them, spent 2 weeks, he said, on his radio program, having his reporters investigate. He said he didn't want anything to do with it. He's just like, I want to know the truth. Whatever the truth is, let us just know. Let's get to the bottom of this. And apparently he was supposed to release this article earlier, but the women attorney, somewhere in between, had some cold feet and weren't sure if they wanted to release it. So I was surprised that it actually did come out. So only problem that I have with Glenn Beck's reporting of this is, even still on his radio program, he's like, I just want to know the truth. I've been up with Tim, till 3 a.m. constantly with this. And Tim just denies. And Glenn Beck's like, okay, I want to believe you. And I don't want to, it pains me to have to expose truths. Can you give me a statement? Can you tell me what this is? And Tim would deny. And now the women have shown Glenn Beck their evidence. The investigative journalists over at Blaze News. Don't worry, I'm surprised just like you are that they exist. But the only issue is I just need men, for the love, to hold their friends more accountable from everything that went on the Ward radio episodes the other day, with just having such disbelief that men could act so disgusting. It's only you guys sometimes. It's only like you guys in your guy circles who are like, whoa, not my bro. So the way that Glenn Beck talks about Tim Ballard, he's like, my good friend, like someone I consider a good friend. If you're saying you believe these women, it's really incumbent on you to say maybe he's not such a good friend, or maybe he's a good friend of yours and that reflects poorly on you. Just change your wording, I think would be smarter. All right, now on to the article. Blaze News investigates what really happened with Tim Ballard and Operation Underground Railroad. Recently, a number of unsourced allegations from unnamed sources familiar with the situation claimed a pattern of sexual misconduct involving Operation Underground Railroad founder Tim Ballard. Since Blaze Media's audience has donated to Operation Underground Railroad over the years and would like to know the truth regarding these allegations, Blaze News spoke with several women who have worked with Tim Ballard. So far, so good. These women, some of whom went on Operation Underground Railroad rescue missions, and others who considered going on missions but never did, were willing to speak on the record to us about their experiences with Ballard and O.U.R, broadly speaking. The women who spoke to Blaze News alleged that Ballard manipulated them and or attempted to coerce them into crossing important professional boundaries during their time at O.U.R. Ballard and his wife, Katherine Ballard, also spoke with Blaze News and responded to many of the women's allegations. Their responses are included here, as are several statements that they have given to other outlets and are posted on social media. O.U.R officially refused to respond on record regarding the specific allegations against Ballard, but Blaze News did speak with several sources familiar with O.U.R operations who agreed to share some insights regarding O.U.R undercover work. The couple's ruse. Sound of Freedom, the film starring Jim Caviezel about the horrors of sex trafficking, became a smash hit at the box office this summer, ranking in over $212 million worldwide, and thus becoming one of the highest-earning independent films of all time. Based If you want me to ever do a breakdown, Lynn Packer has already got great ones. I think he's going to be on my YouTube channel tomorrow, by the way. Lynn Packer for president. Fantastic investigative journalism on his channel. And lots and lots of research on this. Just any chance that I can get. If anyone was like, I love The Sound of Freedom, that true story, you can like the movie, but it is not a true story. So definitely banked some bucks, though. Through a dramatization, the film depicts the real-life work of No, it doesn't. The real-life work of former Department of Homeland Security agent Tim Ballard. About 10 years ago, Ballard founded Operation Underground Railroad, an organization designed to rescue victims of human trafficking. According to its website, the organization has had remarkable success rescuing over 6,000 victims and apprehending more than 4,000 predators. According to its website, its daddy is an astronaut and it's been to the moon. Yeah, there's a lot of things on O.U.R's website that they have absolutely no proof for. In an apparent attempt to provide better safety for mission operatives, in recent years, Ballard began implementing a mission tactic that he dubbed a couple's ruse. In the couple's ruse, a woman pretending to be Ballard's wife or girlfriend would accompany him on rescue missions. Then, when Ballard, himself posing as a sexual predator, remember that one, posing, it's like assaulting women is what you have to do. It's a necessary part of the job. You're not really good at acting and posing, so you just got to be it. Maybe find yourself a different job. Any job where you need to assault people is not the job for you. Posing as a sexual predator found himself in situations in which he was pressured to engage in sex with strippers, prostitutes, or even children. He could refuse on the grounds that he didn't want to upset his girlfriend. In other words, the fake girlfriend would block for Ballard and he would block for her should the need arise. And as we know from other people, Eric Mustos has said, the women that have spoken to him have said other people had more success doing not the couple's ruse. Because what kind of man, I can get a sex tourist from around the world. It's going to be really weird if his super hot girlfriend, who's a Scientologist who was in that CW show, walks in. You know, you can Google people's faces now and be like, that's not a sex fiend and his girlfriend. That's Tim Ballard of O.U.R in a wig and some sunglasses and that really hot actress who believes that Dianetics is a good book. It's not even a good idea. Sex tourist men, they already have a 10 out of 10 hottie. It's gonna raise some suspicions why he's in a Ukrainian strip club, putting dollars in the G-string of a woman who just had 7 kids. There's gonna be some eyebrows raised by the traffickers, but not to Tim. Tim says, everything I'm about to read, if we didn't do it, they'd be on to us. Okay, I don't know everything about sex. I don't know anything about any sex trafficking. I just listen to the experts. I just look at systemic reasons. I don't just plop down in foreign countries in wigs with hot actresses and assume that's how you save children. I make my assumptions, but Tim Ballard really needed the word fuck in Spanish carved in fake tattoos into his pelvis to achieve all of this. Super needed. One source familiar with O.U.R operations told Blaze News that such couples ruses are rare, while another stated that when involving benign gestures or of affection such as hand-holding, they can be an effective means of protecting mission operatives. Nevertheless, some women affiliated with O.U.R rescue teams now claim that Ballard soon began abusing the couple's ruse and eventually used the ruse as a tool for sexual grooming. According to these women, Ballard, a married father of 9 and professed member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, profess all you want. They threw your ass out of there. Initially implemented strict rules regarding the couple's ruse. The alleged victims, yeah, alleged, according to who? Some, you know, skank who's trying to tear down our guy for Senate as he saves kids. Yeah, right, ladies. Like the attitude from especially men on the internet has been just, but then I just like this part where we get to just roast Tim Ballard. Because according to these women, okay, Ballard, an apparent married father, an apparent married father, a parent father to 9, an apparent professed, perhaps, possibly still a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints who said, get the fuck out for using our apostles' names as you sexually assault women with a psychic. Now it's like, yeah, he initially apparently says he wrote something on a scrap of paper about implementing strict rules regarding the couple's ruse, like no kissing on the lips and no touching, exposing private parts. Like that's where we get to be like, fuck you, Tim Ballard. Like everything is about putting all of this, you know, this just so much disrespect to these women who have had such a solid case based on this jet fuel of evidence of what a freaking fraud he is. And now he gets to he's got no leg to stand on except for maybe his massive hard on that'll come in handy in prison. Anyway, they said Ballard gradually relaxed those measures before eventually dispensing with them almost entirely. For example, according to the women who spoke with Blaze News, while on rescue missions, Ballard would sometimes share a bed with a woman posing as his girlfriend or invite her to shower in his bathroom, even though accommodations at designed safe houses provided separate bedrooms and bathrooms, as you would expect. Ballard, for his part, categorically denied ever having been alone even briefly in one of these safe houses with a female operative. O.U.R did not return a request for comment confirming this claim. So if you remember Tim and his wife when they were on Adam Corolla's podcast, and it's like, oh, those showers that people are talking about. I have known that he has been lying about those showers simply because if Tim Ballard, it's not just like one of those people when they're opening their mouth, they're lying. If he starts anything, you need to look for 2 things. If he says, I'm saving the kids, if he puts it like this cool number of like, we saved 26 kids at this spa where me and hot Scientology lady, we had to get naked. We're like down to our swimsuits and we're in this mud. And he's just like, yeah. 26 kids, we saved them. They were in a chicken coop. I mean, just like chicken shit everywhere. The most miserable existence. Slave kids. I mentioned they were sex slaves. Worst existence ever. Look over there at the thing I did where I saved. And oh, by the way, there's not even anything sketchy over here. And even the thing that you'd think is sketchy is like not even sketchy at all. It's really just me and super hot Scientology girl. We just took a mud bath together and then we took a shower, but it was like, no touching, you know? And yeah, my wife's kind of holding my hand and I'm trying to, Katherine, hold on. Like I'm trying to tell the people that there's nothing that went on. So he was trying to like say that the shower thing was just that. It was just like that horrible thing where we saved the kids that we can't prove. And then like this totally normal thing. If you're wondering about the shower thing, that's all it was. And again, Tim, we're not stupid. The women that were making the allegations at O.U.R from the beginning, the internal investigations at O.U.R, the reason why you were let go of, fired, shushed away, those were the women in O.U.R. It's not the shower stories from hottie Scientology girl. Okay? It's from the women making the allegation saying, you made us shower with you. We're not stupid. That's totally different, okay? All right, so next, Ballard also reportedly sent one of the victims a photo of himself covered in tattoos and wearing only underwear. That image then began circulating on social media as much as we wish that it didn't. There we go. Apparently, according to Sam Shelley, he is in his reputation era right here. That's what she said of Zelf on the Shelf. Those are his folklore tattoos, lover era. And then just like overall, he loves his mama. He's just sick of the drama. And apparently those things don't come off in a mud bath. Anyone who's a henna tattoo artist, I would love to know if those even would keep in his henna like state. Or if you get in a mud bath and you scrub off, they'll be like, oh, you're just here to get our 26 kids out of our chicken coop that we're keeping them in for sex slavery. And it's obvious now that's what you're here for, because I didn't put two and two together before you came with like the wife of Xenu and had these really shoddy tattoos and wig and sunglasses. And you were like, hey, Mel Gibson, gotta FaceTime you later when I'm done with my sex trafficking sting in the Dominican Republic. Like, I would have put it two and two together, but now I see those were fake tattoos. Okay. Because it didn't make sense at first, but now I know you're not even married to that chick. She's probably engaged in her entire own version of fraud in a completely different religion, right? During an appearance on the Adam Corolla show, like I mentioned, on September 29th, Ballard verified the photo, but explained that it served a legitimate operational purpose. Traffickers can smell the pheromones. Is that really what we're doing here? Establishing chemistry for the couple's ruse. According to the women who spoke with Blaze News before they ever went undercover together, Ballard first wanted to ensure that he had his female counterparts in the couple's ruse had physical chemistry that would be obvious to those they would meet during an operation. Traffickers can smell the pheromones, he would allegedly say, impressing upon the women that their couple's ruse had to be believable, or otherwise the mission and their very lives must be at risk. Okay. There has to be real chemistry, end quote. He would insist, per one woman. Traffickers have to really believe you are in love with this person, and he wants you to get to the point before you're ever on the op, so that when you're on the op, you're with the traffickers and you're in these brothels and these strip clubs, in these places where you're trying to get intelligence. You're not breaking your cover at all. Like, if anyone tells you that like the only way to achieve X is like with this part of my genitals in your mouth, as is alleged by the women, you're not fit to be running O.U.R. You're not fit to save kids. You're not fit to end exploitation. You're not fit to be a husband and raise 9 kids in this crazy mixed up world. I just think you don't need to do that. That's really unnecessary. To that end, several women told Blaze News that Ballard encouraged them to participate in tantric massages before and while on a couple's ruse. A tantric massage is an erotic massage that often involves participants lying naked or nearly naked together. For men, a tantric massage is called lingam, a Sanskrit word for penis. See, that's a real clue there. That really, really, really is a tip off. If any of the women knew Sanskrit before, they would have been clued in that he was up to something. Sanskrit word for penis that some tantric massage enthusiasts have translated to mean shaft of light or wand of light. That sounds like something I will go with my loving husband to go try. Do not think that this is a proper tactic to run a $80 million ending of exploitation of other people's business type of operation to do. I just don't see where these two fit. Saving children, and I need you to take this shaft of light and massage it. I'm not seeing the connection of how we end one by doing the other, Tim, but I'm sticking with you. In a screenshot of a text message apparently sent from a burner phone with Ballard's known code name, as confirmed by multiple sources, and a number that once belonged to Ballard, as confirmed by one source familiar with O.U.R operations, Ballard appeared to have discussed tantric massages with at least one of the accusers, telling her it's not about learning some strange kinky moves. That's not it at all. I don't have any to teach anyway. It's just about making it real and tapping into tantric light, his text continued, according to the screenshot seen by Blaze News. Quote, I think you will be surprised how fast we connect. We don't need a whole sermon about how you have a premature ejaculation either, Tim. I think we learned a lot here. And you are a sexual predator. Absolutely. You are outed. You are done. Disowned. I hope these women have all of the justice and their day in court or something similar so that you go down in flames for using the idea of saving children to be able to sexually exploit good people and donor money for your little sex games. Continuing, when Blaze News asked Ballard about tantric massages, he initially appeared confused and claimed he was not at all familiar with the term. Then he seemed to understand and likened tantric trainings to yoga or a breathing exercise and claimed he used the word tantric, Reiki, goddess, or energy interchangeably to describe such trainings. He insisted that participants always wore clothes during these tantric trainings. I'm sure he insisted. He was just like, oh, absolutely, keep your garments on. They're sexy and necessary for this operation. Right. Tantric, all clothes on, that all others were always present and that zero massage was involved with them. Yeah, just like he was like, Tantric, what do you mean? I'm unfamiliar. What? Sorry, I don't speak Sanskrit. Oh, tantric massage. Oh, yes, that thing. I'm telling you, everyone know how someone's lying if they go from denying a thing and then going, oh yeah, and then here's the explanation. That's how you know that they're lying. So just here at the end, he's like, and that but zero massage actually took place. I know what you're talking about, but no. He also suggested that tantric could be used to refer to the exotic ritual kind of places that trainees would occasionally visit for more in-depth role playing. The depth is not what they signed up for. I think people just wanted to save kids. We don't want to be involved in your kinky little in-depth role playing that we're going to get blackmailed for, Tim. Yeah, that's not so cool. The goal, he said, was to see how operatives perform in environments that more closely resemble those they would see on a mission. A source familiar with O.U.R operations denied that the undercover training or in-field work involved tantric or any other kind of massage. You don't want the first time to be in a cartel setting practicing the couple's ruse. According to the women who spoke to Blaze News, Ballard was so concerned with the believability of the couple's ruse that he would frequently ask women to practice their couple's ruse long before the mission ever took place. Rewind. Do you remember my video with Shalise and Jonathan where I pitch this comment in a super chat to the men at Word Radio because they are not putting together the puzzle pieces of what's being alleged? And I had inside sources and I also didn't even need them because if you read everything and you actually care about truth and you put together what is being said, training has been part of this. Training implies that it's not when they're on another sting operation out in a foreign country. It implies that it is home in Utah in Tim Ballard's offices. That's what people need to get across, that he was in the interviews from the very beginning trying to test the chemistry with the most attractive women he could get, love bomb them and tell them that they're so amazing, but what would you do for the kids? I mean, what would you do for the kids? Well, there's this thing called the couple's ruse because what I need from you is a total and complete confidence that if we walk into a brothel, they will believe that we've had sex. And actually I'm not really that good of an actor, so we actually should probably just have sex. So practice their couple's ruse long before a mission ever took place. One woman claimed that Ballard came to consider the couple's ruse a perishable skill. Oh, that required regular honing. To that end, Ballard flew women across the country where they would practice their chemistry through tantric massages and other trainings, according to multiple women. When asked about practicing couples' ruses, Ballard told Blaze News that during O.U.R trainings, people pair up and pretend to be in a couple situation. You don't want the first time that they're together to be in the word came up again. cartel. That's why can't I say the word? Oh my God. To be in a cartel setting. So you have to practice to make sure this person knows what they're doing. He also insisted that much practices were always conducted in groups and that he would not have been alone with a female operative during such practice sessions. A source familiar with O.U.R operations told Blaze News that Ballard was the only operative who ever practiced with women or sent explicit text messages to them in connection with a couple's ruse. So this thing that Tim Ballard is so concerned that that these women could screw it up. This thing that is just this gem of a ruse, that we have this miraculous tactic at making sure that we don't have to do anything sexual, God forbid, when we are, out at these other countries. Because absolutely, we're not gonna. We're gonna have needs where there's actually quite a few times in which O.U.R has had some training where they say, you might get tempted when you're in these situations, but naughty, do not, we are here to save the sex traffickers. We don't want to do anything. And obviously, when you go back to your hotel between sting operations in the Dominican Republic, you're alone and there's female operatives there. Why don't we just practice? Practice makes perfect. Of course. This is what we're talking about. This is what he's been pitching this entire time, that we're going to believe that that's even a smart tactic. And O.U.R itself has said that this is not even a successful tactic, this ruse. He's placing everything on the idea that this is so successful and pitching it to these women, manipulating them, that this is what we do to save the kids. I know nobody else does it, but it's only because you and I are really special. This is outrageous. This is exactly what a predator would do. Like, I know that we're at the point where people are like, okay, but now the women they have to go to court or they have to do this. It's just like bullshit. Shut up. I don't want to hear a single thing from another person on the internet until they go back, watch my other videos, watch Lynn Packer's videos, look at the documents from the Davis County and the FBI, actually read how much fraud and how many lies he has told, how everybody in his entire life, besides his wife, maybe, his Haitian kids are probably like, get me the hell out of here, that he adopted from his orphanage that he trafficked to America. I guarantee Glenn Beck, Eric Mustos, Greg Mattson, Ward Radio Bros are next. Like, everybody that has ever worked with Tim Ballard, unless they have some other type of interest financially or otherwise, like his freaking family members who are cowards, who aren't speaking out and defending these women because they are supposedly supposed to be ending sex trafficking and supposed to be ending exploitation and all of those things. And they know all of this. These were operatives at O.U.R, but the freaking board at O.U.R is all Tim Ballard's family members who want the gravy train to keep going. So unless you have something to benefit from Tim Ballard, zippity lip, but everybody else knows that this guy has been a freaking fraud for years and years and years. Investigative journalists, his former friends, everywhere in between. And so now it's like, well, these women, and they have to share their evidence, but it's like bullshit. Like, they are victims in a situation and they're afraid for their lives, which I know for a fact because I've spoken to people and I have these sources that have told me they're afraid. This is very same people that Tim Ballard has in his inner circle that are his little lackeys, that he has all these resources. He can laser beam and focus in on, ruining anybody's life. If he can do it to a sex trafficker, he can do it to a Mormon mom and draper. Like, these women, like, people have said who said that it was Glenn Beck said that one of these families, if this gets out and their name gets out, they're going to have to move. They're going to have to lift up their entire family. They're ashamed. They're embarrassed. In Mormon culture, no matter how much manipulation or grooming goes into it, it's very difficult for your community to understand any of that. So this is devastating to all of these women's lives. They're embarrassed and they're ashamed. So enough of saying stuff like, oh, I'll believe them when. Why don't you just start with all of the evidence that Tim Ballard is a fraud and then decide if you believe them based on all of this? Am I right? Okay. Reading a super chat. Thank you, Becky. Just catching up. And Kara, I am loving your we all broken clocks analogy. And I'm sorry, I'm going to just keep reading. If you want me to read something to put it on the screen specifically, If you're Cardin Ellis at Word Radio and you want to get me back and make me read something on that you wrote on my channel, that is so fair. So thanks, guys. Love you back. All right, continuing the reading. But yeah, do you want me to read it? You have to do it in a super chat because I'm just going to blaze through this. Literally no pun intended, but that did feel fun. Okay. Yeah, like I said, source familiar with O.U.R operations told Blaze Ballard is the only operative who ever practiced with women or sent explicit text messages to them in connection with the couple's ruse. It's just live and die by the nude ruse. Yeah. O.U.R did not return a request for comment seeking clarification of these issues, with the exception of actual penetration, allegedly engaging in sex to help victims of sex trafficking through these couples' ruses, both in the office and in the field. Again, that is what I wanted to highlight. That is what Word Radio could not believe, that it was all these different factors combined, proved by M. Russell Ballard. The apostle said it was A-okay. I'm not saying that he did, but that's what Tim told the women, that people have not been getting it through their heads. They think that this is off in a foreign country. This is in the office, okay? It says here, this is what the women are alleging. Okay, both in the office and in the field, Ballard eventually engaged in sexual contact with some women and propositioned others. The women told Blaze News, quote, as far as physical touching, he made it pretty clear that really the only thing that was not going to be considered, if need be, during an op was kissing on the lips. One woman said everything else was pretty much a go, and honestly, more than just a go. It's something that I should anticipate and be prepared to make happen for the sake of the act. Anything's a go. Everything's a go. Everything's a go. Except for consent. Am I right? She and Ballard participated in several sexual acts with the exception of actual penetration. She also stated that their sexual contact ended at the end of the mission. All right, that's where Eric Mustos's video comes in, where he said he talked to multiple women, and those women said, yeah, things like oral were fair game. So I think that's all included there. That's why I said in my video a week ago that Tim Ballard is still putting out this propaganda to his fan base on his Instagram, putting out pictures of me and my wife. We're so in love. And also, the couple's ruse. Let me explain. I don't like giving away tips. Tim Ballard's like, I don't like giving away tips, but I will tell you about the couple's ruse. And anyone who bought that, I'm sorry that you were dropped on your head as a child, whatever the fuck. Anyone who believes that the couple's ruse is even like approaches a reality that saves sex trafficked children, like, please, for the love of God, just like stay home and do some coloring pages. But us adults out in the real world who are trying to like solve systemic issues and talk about things, we're not here to just keep listening to a con man and a fraudster, you know, run away to his different locations around the world while playing Rambo with his camera crew, playing Big Shot on his way to one day be a prophet and apostle for the Mormon church. We're not going to play Tim Ballard's games. I wish you wouldn't either, but if you still are and think the couple's ruse is a thing, seek help. Other women mentioned engaging in sexual acts and being in various states of undress with Ballard while on a mission, sometimes even while in their private accommodations when no one else was around. According to the women, Ballard would argue that they had to maintain the appearance of a romantic relationship at all times during a mission because suspicious traffickers might be surveilling them at any point. We are here in the Dominican because we are sex fiend crazy maniacs. And if they're peeping in our windows, what are we doing? Playing Scrabble? Reading the Book of Mormon? Hell no. I mean, fuck no. We should be doing all the things that sex fiends do. That's the only way to save the kids. Shut the fuck up, Tim Ballard. You're a fraud. Ballard denied that he engaged in any physical contact beyond hand-holding, arms and shoulders, stuff like that. He also alleged that some female operatives wanted to kiss him during a mission to put on a more convincing performance, but he always refused. I'm just like a class act. These lips are for my wife. But really, like, whoever has to suck my dick to save the kids. I mean, that's fine, right? These women have been groomed and manipulated and coerced and exploited into thinking this is what they had to do to save the kids. 2 marriages have been ended by this. They live in fear of rabid Tim Ballard fans while he gets his dick sucked in the fucking Dominican Republic. And people still defend him because he's on our side. What are you talking about? He saves the kids. I don't know how sex trafficking works, and I don't want to know. Like, if you care about the thing that you say you care about, look at the guy who's doing the thing that he doesn't even care about, because if he actually cared about it, he would probably keep his hands to himself and try to end exploitation instead of engaging in it. It's a pretty simple equation, okay? Ballard denied that he engaged in any physical contact beyond hand-holding. I think I already read that. There's no reason to do it. It's not inappropriate. He claimed he would tell them. A source familiar with O.U.R operations denied that O.U.R would ever have approved of any sexual contact between couples ruse partners. So right there, if what the women are alleging, what they came to O.U.R to say, hey, HR department, we don't like that our operative partner, who is the founder CEO, and his entire board is run by family members, it's getting kind of time to speak out that this couple's ruse is going too far. We don't know what our rights are, but it's probably that we should be able to keep our jobs without having to have sex with Tim. And then O.U.R says, yeah, this is either Tim's got to go or you guys are got to go. And if you can keep that quiet, if we can just wrap that up and keep this under wraps here, we'll get Tim out of here. But when we tell our story, O.U.R you guys are against sexual exploitation. Won't you guys like say something that your founder and your brother and your relative and your bud and the guy who probably still signs your paychecks, like, could you guys stand up for us? And O.U.R is like, no, we're going to be busy that night saving kids in a completely foreign country. Have you guys ever saved kids? That's what we do over here. All of this ruse is the saving kids ruse so that Mormon men and the like and the ilk can act like total Joseph Smiths. Oh, I ran right into that one. You never did Brazilian before? Ballard allegedly makes an intimate request. Apparently, to make a couple's ruse as convincing as possible, Ballard allegedly requested all women, to first have a Brazilian wax. Now, I'm not going to get into that territory where, some men only like a bald vagina because it reminds them of a child because they themselves are perverts. I'm not going to say that, but I'm just going to say that opinion does generally exist. I do not espouse that, but I do think that if you're in a foreign country to save children from sex trafficking and the women that you bring to be a go-between so you don't have to have sex with kids in brothels is a woman who is not your wife, who is being sexually groomed and exploited and harassed to stay there, or else she'll lose her job. And if you need her to have a vagina that looks anything like a child's, you're probably a fucking pervert. Like, you have major issues. Just saying. Which would remove all pubic hair from their private areas before they went on an operation. When the alleged victim told Ballard she'd never had a Brazilian wax before, he expressed surprise. Wow, you never did Brazilian before? He wrote, according to a screenshot seen by Blaze News. For the record, I didn't tell you to, he quickly added with a winking emoji. Perhaps the most disturbing about the alleged Brazilian wax request is that it seems entirely unnecessary for a mission to rescue trafficked children. The women who accompanied Ballard were ostensibly brought along to play a part in a couple's ruse, nothing more. Since Ballard wanted a fake girlfriend to block unwanted sexual advances from others, and his own couple's ruse rules forbade exposing private parts, it's unclear why the woman would need to have a Brazilian wax to fit in with other sex tourists, or how he would have known if they had declined to get one. Ballard categorically denied to Blaze News that he ever asked a female operative to get a Brazilian wax, and a source familiar with O.U.R operations also told Blaze News that female operatives would never have been required to or recommended to get one as a part of O.U.R protocol. Yeah. So it's some heavy stuff. I'm like in the rantiest ranting mood that is ever ranted. So I'm going to keep reading. I'm just going to take a little break. I'm allowed to drink my chocolate milk. An extensive and very manipulative ... plan. The apparent ruse of the couple's ruse. That's what I've been saying. To those in the outside world, it might seem obvious that engaging in sexual contact for the sake of helping trafficked children is wildly inappropriate. But the women who spoke with Blaze News indicated that Ballard gradually implemented an extensive and very manipulative plan to convince them to participate in things they otherwise would never have considered doing. One of the main tactics Ballard used, they claim, was to lean on their desire to help victims. Is there anything you wouldn't do to save a child? He would allegedly ask. According to one woman's summary, in preparation for a possible mission, Ballard said something to the effect of, "This is going to be a really seedy place. What if this happens? Would you be willing to do this? Well, what if I need this? Would you be comfortable doing that?" And then it's all about testing those limits, she added. The women also claimed that Ballard would then badmouth unnamed women who had allegedly gone on couples ruses in the past, slamming them as crazy and claiming they had fallen in love with him along the way. Such stories perhaps apocryphal. Such stories perhaps apocryphal seemingly motivated the women to prove their mettle and their devotion to the cause by trying to outdo their supposed predecessors on the couple's ruse. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. When they found themselves questioning the legitimacy of tactics involving sexual conduct, they often doubted their own instincts, relying on Ballard's breadth of knowledge about rescue missions to convince themselves that such tactics were normal. Just remember that Tim's the expert in your learning, one woman recalled telling herself. Just don't question him, just do it, as he's right and you're wrong. Wow, what does that sound like? Hey, everyone. That is a gigantic red flag. This whole time, the only reason I'm so interested in this entire story is because we have a world where there is, yes, something disgusting and evil going on that is uh, yes, not just sex trafficking of children and adults too, but the overall grooming, the molestation, the amount of sexual abuse that is just rampant around the world. And the ways that I try to talk about those things and expose them is like systematic problems within my niche, my understanding, my tribe, my circle within the Mormon church. And when that overlaps, where there's somebody who is in the Mormon church and he says, I want to end this thing, this horrible, gross thing, but I'm going to do it in this way. That also makes me a lot of money and also makes it so I'm just infallible. No one can question me. And this way where I get to have fictional stories told about my life and become a hero and a movie star. Just say, I don't like the way you're doing that, but overall, I'm going to keep it out of my business for a little bit. But this is what we're talking about with Mormon culture, where this story forever, I hope, goes down as a lesson to people within the Mormon community about fraudsters in their midst. Tim Ballard is a big one, but just generally the voices of women and just victims generally, young boys, girls, whoever, that you just think that somebody above you knows what they're doing spiritually or sexually, that you are taken advantage of. And now you're under their control because you have been groomed and conditioned that this decree is solid and sealed and it's not something you can push back on. This is Mormonism right here, what they just said. Holy smokes. Also, did I get any other super chats? Great job, Kara. Loving the rant. Let me put it up on screen just so you can. Thank you. Ooh, I'm exhausted. Should I rant less or more? Because I'm going to start swearing even more. That's insane. Just don't question him. Just do it as he is right and you are wrong. She also claimed that sometimes an associate of Ballard, whose identity is unclear, but whose role appears to have included booking flights for those going on O.U.R missions, would remind her about Ballard's superior field experience. Quote, don't assume you know better than Tim, he'd say. She claimed He hates it when these women he brings undercover start thinking they're smarter than him. He's been doing this for 20 years. He knows so much more than you do. And that is another thing that one of my sources told me, is that Tim Ballard is a gigantic freaking egomaniac. You can hear that in the Jimmy Rex podcast when he says that they're doing a benefit for these kids that they saved, and just because they raised thousands of dollars and they talked about the kids that they saved with a picture up on screen, the fact that Tim wasn't in the picture, he storms out furious. And Jimmy Rex's friend, who's an operative at the time, he's like, why isn't this about the kids? You know, like, obviously this guy has a gigantic ego problem. But my source also told me that same thing that Jimmy Rex said. Tim cannot stand anyone around him who has like more alpha energy than he does. He wants to be the alpha. He wants to be like the big, 6'7" dude in his lifts, abusing women and sexually exploiting them. He doesn't want any other alphas. He wants literally just snakes around him who will be beta cucks to whatever bullshit thing that he needs to do to be able to stay in power and get the things and the power and the money, tell the lies that he wants, get the book deals that he wants. People like that. They surround themselves with not like actual good other types of alpha equals who keep them accountable. No, as Jimmy Rex says, those people are by the wayside. Those people, Tim Ballard said Jimmy Rex said Tim Ballard admitted to him in that interview. He's like, yeah, I made some bad choices. I didn't keep the right people around me. Yeah, you don't keep the right people around you. How long does this go on? And the kind of person says that, don't question me. I've been doing this 20 years. You shower with me because the sex traffickers are literally tapping our phones right now at the same time that he's freaking FaceTiming Mel Gibson. For all we know, Mel Gibson's part of the Hollywood elite that's trafficking children. He knows your location there in the Dominican Republic with your stupid hat and your tattoos on. Mel Gibson is safe. These are all references. You have to watch the other videos that I did if you're confused. I don't have time to get into it. Ballard even allegedly told some of them that engaging in sex play with him might improve their marriages, even as he also allegedly told them not to tell their husbands about what they were doing. You can take that sexual charge home, one accuser claimed he told her. Woo! He thinks he's God's gift to humanity. He thinks he's his gift to humanity because he is God. Another woman claimed that Ballard repeatedly warned her, should she fail in her couple's ruse mission, she would have wasted the hard-earned money that honest donors had entrusted to O.U.R. Oh, the money, the hard-earned money. Oh my gosh. Tim Ballard is the only one thinking of the money. Yes, he gets paid $300,000 a year to go sexually exploit his operatives and ruin their marriages and cause them devastation and harm to the point where they're two are suicidal and they fear for their life and they have to move away. But when they said, don't do this, let's stop this. I want to speak to HR. This is out of control. Put your hands off of me. Oh my gosh. Tim Ballard's like, this is going to be so expensive. Think of the donors. It's called Time to Fuck Off. You are a con man. We all know. I start singing and just doing things like this. I don't know what to do with this information. I haven't read it yet. I just skimmed it and I knew that it came out and I was like, live stream now. But I knew this information, but I didn't know it in these terms. Another woman claimed, yes, she should fail her couple's ruse mission. She would have wasted the hard-earned money that honest donors had entrusted to O.U.R. She said that he also told her that a poor performance from a fake girlfriend had ruined a mission in the past. Oh, it was devastating. It was terrible. We took this girl on this mission and she was supposed to be playing my girlfriend at the city brothel in the Colombian jungles. And, everything was working fine until we went back to the place after we caught the sex traffickers. And we were so worried that they might have escaped from prison and run over to our house that we were staying in. And it was just so scary. And I was like, I'm afraid they're out there. They're going to get us. They don't think that we're actually a couple and they're going to know. I have to make sure that you can soap up my balls or else we're definitely going to be dead meat. That's really not a convincing story. That's it happened once before. People fail at this. Don't be like that bitch who wouldn't let me shower with her and went to HR. Don't be like that cunt who was like, no, I would absolutely refuse to engage in the sex act because this seems a little bit seedy. Don't be like that freaking hussy. So he just calls them names, tells them you're wasting donor money. Give me a break. She said that he also told her that a poor performance from a fake girlfriend had ruined a mission in the past. I was feeling like I have to prove to him that I won't misuse donors' dollars. The women are innocent. The women have been manipulated and groomed by a fraudster who defrauded. Name them in Tim's circle, and they have been defrauded by him. Glenn Beck, everyone. These women are so brave and so amazing for seeing through this and finally speaking up and ending this practice, getting him booted out of his organization. And now it's time for Tim Ballard to stop getting to use this smoke screen of I'm going to run for Senate and I've saved so many kids, to actually take accountability that you cannot break these lines of consent in your office, in the workplace, to say that this is necessary while you also get your jollies off to women that you've groomed and manipulated for the cause that we all are against, just to say that anyone who criticizes Tim Ballard, that we are the ones, like in his statement, like that we're the ones who want to stop it. He's known this is all coming out. And so he's just been lighting off all the fireworks and firecrackers for distractions because he knows what he has done, you know? Another common theme from the women who spoke with Blaze News is that Ballard would use spiritual manipulation to coerce them into sex. Most, if not all, of the women who spoke with Blaze News had some affiliation with the LDS Church at some point in their life. He would cite for them a passage from the Book of Mormon in which a man killed another man at the prompting of the Holy Spirit. I knew that that was a bad scripture that Joseph Smith wrote. We didn't know that it had implications so that Tim Ballard could go sexually exploit other people. I thought he was going to quote the happiness letter from Joseph Smith, but he's like, that's been played. He's like, let's do the one where in the Book of Mormon, Lehi sends his sons back to go get the golden plates, and then the Holy Ghost is just like, also, Nephi, just cut off that guy's head just for funsies. And he's like, really? He's like, yeah, Holy Ghost, told you so. That's just a fun thing that happens in Mormonism where you get to say, the Holy Ghost told me to do this totally immoral thing. Thumbs up. And we read it every week in Sunday school. Book of Mormon, the most correct book on earth. Also used to condone these actions. According to multiple women, the purpose of this reference was to demonstrate that sometimes the Holy Spirit asks people to perform unconventional tasks. This is Joseph Smith. There is everything that has been said. We have said Joseph Smith. This is literally the happiness letter from Joseph Smith. This is literally Joseph Smith going to Nancy Rigdon, going to the various women in Nauvoo saying, listen, I have a proposition for you. Things that seem wrong under one context are actually right in another. I know you don't know a whole lot about this. I am the older, wiser one. I am the prophet overall. Tim Ballard is literally at prophet status, the way that, people in my comment section are obviously cult members of him. So this is Joseph Smith saying, you know what? The Lord wants us to be happy, and the Holy Ghost has moved on me to pick you as my wife. It's your eternal salvation, or, an angel with a flaming sword. He's going to kill me. Do you want me to die? Or it's the same thing as well, what would you do to save the kids? The infinite importance of salvation or saving kids from sex trafficking. Those are in a person's mind, 1,000 out of 1,000. And both Joseph Smith and Tim Ballard have misused those and manipulated women into their own sexual gratification. So interesting. Wow. Analogies for years. Yes. According to multiple women, the purpose of this reference was to demonstrate that sometimes the Holy Spirit asks people to perform unconventional tasks, presumably such as engaging in extramarital sexual contact during couples' ruses. Ballard told Blaze News that he had no recollection of citing anything like that. He and his wife, Katherine, both stated that they regularly quote scripture, especially Jesus' dire warning of the Gospel of Matthew, that if anyone causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him to have a huge millstone hung around his neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea to support their work saving children. Yeah, I've heard Tim Ballard quote that too. Yeah, Tim, you say a lot of things about what you believe, and you say a lot of things about what other people are lying about, and you say a lot of things that are actually not true because we know what you did from the evidence and myriad of witnesses and documents. So yeah, you can say a lot of things, but if these women are saying, yeah, he manipulated us with these scriptures about the way that God asks, and I'm a woman in this church. He is a priesthood leader after all. He has the ability to speak and work on behalf of God and the Holy Ghost in ways that I don't. It is Mormonism itself that has funneled and conditioned women to be able to believe these things. So the women are extremely brave for standing up and realizing that Tim Ballard needs to be held accountable for these things, and they're going to go on and they're going to try to heal their lives. And I just pray and hope that nobody judges these women harshly or thinks that they just wanted to cheat on their husbands or something. That's not what this is about. This is a story of Mormonism, starting with the way that Joseph Smith, coerced his young brides into, making promises that they thought that they were special. All of those same grooming tactics, they happen when there is a narcissist in control who can't be questioned, Despite the importance that obvious physical chemistry supposedly carried in a couple's ruse, Ballard, whom some described as a bully, who'd have thunk, would also insist that the women stay silent about their alleged sexual encounters with him. Who'd have thunk? I thought he would be telling all the sex trafficking organizations about them. The anti-ones that he works in conjunction with to stop? No, the pro ones, the ones that want to sex traffic people. He's like, I got a great tip. It's called the couple's ruse. Have you tried it out? In addition to keeping the information from their husbands or boyfriends, Ballard reportedly instructed them not to tell their direct supervisors or other leaders at O.U.R, some of whom are Ballard's relatives. That is what we call sexual exploitation, and this is getting all right. It gets worse. I know where this goes. Oh gosh. Nobody would ever understand why we did those things, he would allegedly say, one woman said. Then after women had engaged in sexual activity with him, Ballard used their encounters to his advantage, holding those encounters over their heads to pressure them even more forcibly into silence. The women claimed, we will have so much shit on each other. We will be we will be deterred into silence on all things forever. He allegedly wrote in a text, according to a screenshot seen by Blaze News, mutual assured destruction. Many women also claimed that Ballard frequently demanded that they erase the digital traces of his conversations with them, including and perhaps especially explicit conversations. Quote, he had me delete everything, one woman explained to Blaze News. He would call at night and to say, hey, you scrubbed your phone, right? He had me delete so much, she later added. The other woman made similar statements. Because of Ballard's insistence that the women regularly wipe their messages, they had scant physical evidence to share to support their allegations, they indicated to Blaze News. So Tim Ballard not only is like, everything they say is lies, and then one by one from the church releasing that statement, one by one, everything Tim Ballard says is totally lies, has been proven not to be lies. And then it's his last trump card is like, well, why don't they show us their evidence? Well, he cruises off on a jet and knowing that he already forced them to scrub it. What an evil, manipulative psychopath that people defend. If you were an evil, manipulative psychopath, would you not also do these things? Yeah, he was thinking multiple steps ahead, that even if the women come out, who's going to believe them? Where's their evidence? Ballard told Blaze News that protocol at the end of an operation is to clear the texts. Once the operation is over, he added, every operator knows you kill the communication or any of the content that's not material to the prosecution because that's the smart thing to do, end quote. In his conversation with Blaze News, Ballard repeatedly lamented that he had to discuss operational protocols such as wiping phones to defend himself. He feared that doing so would likely compromise future operations. A source familiar with O.U.R's operations indicated that in some circumstances, operatives may have been encouraged to delete their text after an operation. Isn't that interesting? So again, Tim's side of the story is like the way that he ran his operations is like couples ruse. We're going all in on this. Couples ruse is the way to save the kids. Got to have chemistry. We have to have these tantric sex. We gotta do it in the office. They will know if we don't. Couples ruse, placing my entire life's bet that this is how you save sex trafficking. And then over here, O.U.R is like, yeah, he's the only one who did that. And we wish that he wouldn't. And it's kind of an embarrassing part of our past. And Tim Ballard's like totally in on it. And O.U.R is like, yeah, it wasn't our thing. And that's how Tim Ballard did anything relating to ending sex trafficking. O.U.R probably is like, yeah, he had everything wrong, right? And then when it comes to Tim Ballard saying like, we had to, first of all, you guys aren't listening. We had to make sure to have sex so that the sex traffickers knew that we had chemistry, or else the children would not be saved from the chicken coops that they were enslaved in. Did you guys not understand that I saved 26 kids from a chicken coop by a hot Scientology lady? You guys have bud in your ears? Okay. Listen. So we had to do that thing, but then we also had to, as he tells Blaze, this is not hearsay. This is the Blaze saying this is exactly what his excuse was. We have to delete it. It's just like standard protocol. Delete everything. Scrub it. And O.U.R is like, yeah, O.U.R operations indicated that in some circumstances, operatives may have been encouraged to delete their text after an operation. Like, the sex traffickers they're in there. They're checking our phones. They're making sure that the tattoo above my penis really does say fuck. So they know that I'm in their game. They know that I like what they like. We have to do everything like this. And even O.U.R is like, yeah, we didn't do anything like that. Yeah. Why isn't O.U.R standing up? This is my call out to like his family members who are on the board right now. These women get maligned in your conservative right-wing Mormon circles. Like, and they're stressed too or suicidal. Like, fucking O.U.R has the most blood on his hands to me right now. Okay. Tim Ballard is a psychopath. He's going to have to pay for all of this. But if the women are not able to actually be believed right now, and it's O.U.R, the one who has the $80 million that has all of this power to stop exploitation, and they just sit on all of this evidence because they're on the gravy train for Tim Ballard's family, like that is really fucked up. Like I would start like a massive campaign. I don't know where their headquarters are, but I would sleep outside and be like, O.U.R, fuck you. You need to believe these women and actually release the information that you have and stand up for them because they're fearing for their lives. They have Tim Ballard fanatics breathing down their neck. They're suicidal. They're embarrassed. Come out and say that you let this thing get out of control, that your HR department was totally afraid and shaking in their boots because of this ridiculous leader that you've propped up. Like Tim Ballard is a making of your own design. So I hope O.U.R like fucking crashes and burns and all of that money goes to legitimate organizations trying to sex trafficking, because every cent of that is like ridiculous blood money at this point. Anyway, it's enough to physically make me sick, the fear of public backlash. The women who spoke with Blaze News said they eventually began experiencing debilitating emotional and psychological side effects as a result of what they had allegedly done with Ballard and what they allegedly had been coerced into doing, and or what had allegedly been done to them. Just so we're clear in the ways that the laws work, you cannot consent to sex if your job is on the line. That is sexual exploitation. That is sexual harassment. Having to gratify your boss in any type of way, or even put up with just basic jokes or passing remarks and being told you have to stay silent. That is against the law. You are not allowed to do that if you are an employer and have a position of power over somebody. So this is not about the women just, wishing that they could have spoken up sooner, and that all of those fears are real. But that is why we have laws against sexual harassment, because men in power so often do this because they know they can get away with it. And Tim Ballard is no different. Doesn't matter if he's Mormon, doesn't matter if he's conservative. Like, since The beginning of the show that I can't reference right now because I'm on a live stream, but all I can do is just remember John Hamm and all of his women at the agency slapping asses and smoking cigars. The one. This is just part of our fucking culture that we've had to consistently fight against sexual harassment in the workplace. And so when they're saying coerced into doing it's just basic power dynamics between an employer and an employee. This is sexual exploitation, spiritual exploitation, capitalism 2.0 times 1,000 exploded into the universe and is here on our screen to show what the worst of men in power and have this religious advantage and this pedestal can do to a woman who just wants to save the kids, who just wants to keep her job. Coerced into doing. Some mentioned suffering reoccurring nightmares, panic attacks, or bouts of depression. Others admitted having difficulty trusting others and entering therapy. One woman particularly attributes the collapse of her marriage to her time with Ballard. That's what I've said. I've heard 2 marriages have ended and that these women are in dire straits. Despite these sometimes severe after effects, some of the women still hesitated to report Ballard's alleged behavior to those at O.U.R. or to others in their communities for fear of retaliation. He has threatened to destroy our lives if we speak out, one woman said. Yeah, I think anybody who knows how powerful Tim Ballard is, even if you're the biggest Tim Ballard fan, sit back and look at how powerful this man is. You think women who would just bring up false allegations because they're paid by some other crazy, affiliated with Glenn Beck Mormon church network, there's just all these people conspiring to make up false allegations against Tim Ballard when he's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and he can travel to countries and apparently hunt down sex traffickers with the best of them. He's even got this really special tip that nobody else has. He's really good at hunting traffickers. He even does this couples ruse thing. He's on the cutting edge of hunting down people. He knows all the tricks, okay? And so it is obviously within the realm of possibilities that these women are fearing for their lives, that Tim has threatened them, that he has got an ego problem. He can't control his perceptions anymore. I have 1,000 bricks and you only have one. Ballard allegedly warned another after she confronted him about his alleged behavior. She told Blaze News, I have 1,000 bricks and you only have one. All right, guys, let's get the bricks out. Nuance Ho fans, literally, don't care who you are, from where you're at, start deconstructing the walls of your house. I think he lives in Draper. That's a vague threat that I'm taking back for legal reasons. Jesus. But their fear was not limited to Ballard or his supposed allies at O.U.R. Many women also expressed to Blaze News a deep concern about the potential fallout of these accusations from the media and the public at large. The paranoia of what could happen. Whatever. The paranoia of what could happen, the backlash of all this. I mean, it's enough to physically make me feel sick a lot of the time because I don't want all that. I don't want all that negative attention, one woman admitted. She wanted to just save the kids. She was said to have started at O.U.R. because she wanted to save the kids. And now it has turned into her worst nightmare. Give these women a break. Good God. They are receiving so much negative attention. Glenn Beck said these women are afraid they're just going to be called liars all the time. Yeah, you get involved with this Tim Ballard fan base. I think Glenn Beck needs to take some accountability that he's propped up this guy who are the ones who are going to be giving all this negative attention. He needs to be running the story and trying to unbrainwash his own fucking audience. Their concerns are hardly without merit. Now in fall 2023, a full 6 years after the start of the Me Too movement, many in the U.S. have grown weary of accusations, especially false accusations. It should be only false accusations. I'm only weary of false accusations. Other accusations are, such as those leveled against Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, being used in an attempt to tarnish the character and ruin the career of an influential person. Even recent allegations made against actor and podcaster Russell Brand have met with strong visceral opposition, as many have begun to see such accusations as little more than a leftist tactic to prevent someone from speaking truth to power. The women who spoke to Blaze News are very aware of the current cultural climate regarding accusations of sexual misconduct. They also know that some people will likely dismiss their allegations as just another attempted political hit job. Now that Ballard has teased a run for U.S. Senate seat currently occupied by Mitt Romney, Romney has stated that he will not seek re-election. Well, listen to me. My husband went to Jiffy Lube yesterday and he saw Mitt Romney there. And I wish that I could just trade places with him. It's the only time I wish that I did some maintenance on the car. Because if I could talk to Mitt Romney, I'd be like, be a pal and just run again. Say that was a joke. It was so funny. I wrote it down in my diary and various other Anchorman quotes. Come on. Yeah, it's a political hit job. Yeah, that's right. Or he just knew that this was coming and it's a smoke screen. I don't know. The women further know that many Americans hold Tim Ballard in high esteem, especially after watching Sound of Freedom. They know because they once held him in high esteem as well and seem to feel betrayed by his alleged misconduct behind closed doors. Yeah, like these are not, people on the opposite side of your political and your social ideals. These are people who used to be in the fan base who are just like you. And that very fanaticism is what Tim Ballard took advantage of. For these reasons and perhaps others, the women claimed that they had always intended to keep the investigation into Ballard within the confines of O.U.R. We loved O.U.R. to the point that we were willing and devoted to it, so there was no reason to go public. One woman explained. She also added that she and other accusers compiled with a request for an internal investigation, presumably from O.U.R. officials. We did that. It was quiet, she said. Baseless inventions designed to destroy me, Ballard goes public. In his conversation with Blaze News on Monday, Ballard indicated that he had only a general idea of what he had been accused of doing. Nevertheless, he had already begun publicly responding to some of those general allegations. On September 18th, he issued a statement through the Spear Fund where he is now a senior advisor. Ballard's full statement is as followed. This is what I've been talking about. This is just like, didn't happen. As with all the assaults on my character and integrity over many years, the latest tabloid-driven sexual allegations are false. They are baseless inventions designed to destroy me and the movement we have built to end the trafficking and exploitation of vulnerable children. During my time at O.U.R, I designed strict guidelines for myself and our operators in the field. Sexual contact was prohibited, and I led by example. Given our meticulous attention to this issue, any suggestion of inappropriate sexual contact is categorically false. The following week, Ballard posted to his Instagram page 2 videos addressing the allegations. In the first video, which appears to have been spliced or have experienced technical difficulties, Ballard repeatedly lavishes praise and homage on the women who have helped him pull off the couple's ruse. Hundreds, maybe thousands of children have been rescued using this amazing tactic, he claims. The second video features a woman whose face has been obscured, but who identifies herself as Natalia. Natalia claims to have performed multiple couples ruses with Ballard, and avers, I don't know that word, and I'm going to admit it, avers that his conduct was always above board. There was, again, absolutely zero sexual contact, touching anything inappropriate of that nature. From start to finish, she emphasizes. If you're going to say that, I'm just going to do another full screen one because I've been too small on the screen for too long. For the amount of people in Tim Ballard's comment section or Glenn Beck's comment section who have been like, oh, the women are obviously paid off who are saying this, what's more likely? Tim Ballard's a crazy psychopathic narcissistic sexual predator monster. And these women are telling the truth. And he, Tim Ballard, has paid off people to speak for him. Or it's just Glenn Beck, the Mormon Church, Russell M. Russell Ballard, all his former friends, Jimmy Rex, Eric Mustos, the entire board at O.U.R. They're the ones taking crazy pills. And these women, everyone's paid off. There's some elite, sex trafficking, global enterprise, just paying everybody off. And Tim Ballard's the one who knows how to stop it. And he's like, these are all baseless lies trying to stop my movement. Which one is more? I'm not going to say that this woman was paid off, but I will say there is something more happening here than just, you know what? I will say, sisters, we got to stick together. Katherine Ballard, Tim's wife, she never talked to any of the victims. This Natalia, has she talked to any of the alleged victims? I don't want to hear jack crap till you guys actually go talk to them, because maybe you're just like, no, nothing happened, because that's what Tim told me. Well, do you need their cell phone number? I bet they would provide it to you so that you stop hosting more propaganda for their alleged abuser. Just a thought. Last week, Ballard also shared with Adam Corolla what he believes was the origin of the allegations that he showered with his couples ruse partners. He told Corolla that one particular mission in the Dominican Republic, which he claims saved 27 children. Oh, it went up one since the podcast. I think it was just 26. Who had been locked up in a chicken coop. He ended up showering with a female operator who believes in Scientology. That is an important piece of the puzzle. How are you going to save sex trafficked kids when you belong to a fucking religion? Marisol Nichols, who sex traffics kids, who has the worst fucking record on child trafficking and sexual exploitation. Holy shit. You're going to take a Scientologist to rescue the sex trafficked kids? I almost knocked off my other sex trafficker of kids over here. I should elbow him in the face. Holy shnikes. I think that's an important part of journalism. Sorry, Blaze. I have some notes. However, he insisted that both participants were wearing bathing suits and that their innocent actions while in the shower, we don't even touch each other, he told Corolla, were concealed from others in the massage room by a towel. Once he had the women shared that, quote, awkward anecdotes with others, the rumor mill distorted the story to imply that he took showers with his couple's ruse partners, he said. Ballard's wife, Katherine, appeared with her husband as part of the interview with Corolla. The part that she appeared in was like holding his hand in like a loving way and him being like, wait, my ego's on the line here. Shut the fuck up. My ego is on the line. Don't hold my hand. This looks woozy. Trying to tell Adam Corolla how I took that super hot Marisol Nichols Scientologist in this really believable couples ruse thing. And she's just like, honey, calm down. And he's like, I'm playing alpha here, babe. But Ballard's wife, Katherine, appeared with her husband for part of the interview with Corolla. And she told Corolla that her husband is doing what he needs to do to rescue the children. And I know, she added with emphasis, that he has done it in a way of complete faithfulness to me. Katherine also made a solo appearance on a recent episode of the Rod Arquette Show. I have videos of all of this in my last couple episodes. If you're wondering, I don't want to get into it here. We have talked about all of this. On it, she assures host Rod Arquette that she was very aware of the couple's ruse and its purpose for a rescue mission. She claimed that her husband and his ruse partners never did a couple's ruse without training first. Yeah, without training. Training is a objective term, according to Tim. What is training? Though she did not elaborate on what kind of training was involved. That's what I said. The article finished my sentence. Perfect. She also alleged that there were a couple times when Tim was propositioned during a training, like, hey, here's my hotel card. In those instances, her husband had the women dismissed from the team, Katherine said. Tim Ballard, he comes home and he tells his wife, oh, honey, you'll never believe I was doing the couples ruse thing. Like, I told you that I was doing. And there's this girl, this chick, this bitch, fucking home wrecker, and she was getting the wrong idea by me showering with her, and she was like getting the wrong idea by me training her since my interviews with her, love bombing, telling her how amazing she was, asking what she'd do to save the kids, telling her that she needs to like suck my dick to get the job. Like, she was getting the wrong idea. And then babe, you'll never believe, you'll be so proud of me though, we're in the Dominican Republic. Did we save any kids? I don't know. I had so much sex, I forgot. But listen, you'll be so proud of me. We're in the Dominican Republic, and she's like, "Here's my hotel card." Wink. And I got on the phone so fast. I was like, "Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Think of you're wasting donor money." I told her she's wasting donor money. And Catherine's like, "Yeah." And it's like, I have 9 kids. It's like, I want to be home with them. She's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, babe, you was so proud of me. I just told that hussy just to like get lost." And like, I am so faithful to my wife. And if you could just make sure to forget the whole first half of the story that I told you and just remember the part about the key card. Thanks. Okay. Improving on live stream is fun. Thanks, Debbie, for the amen, amen, amen for the $10. I'm exhausted. This is heavy stuff. I am joking my way through it, but this is very serious. These poor women, what they have been through, please give them and the other people, at least give them a gigantic round of applause. That they know they did not want this stuff to come out and they were trying to keep it internal. But now this has just gotten so out of hand because of who Tim Ballard is, the fraud who he is just like very indicative of gigantic con man who can dupe so many people, waste so much money, and actually do more to harm the propaganda of misinformation from Sound of Freedom and how Tim Ballard says we save the kids outside of all the sexual ruse stuff. Just the very thing that we would want to solve that pulls on all of our heartstrings, that makes us even believe Tim Ballard in the first place couldn't do any of these things because he's the one saving the good guy. That same instinct, that same heartstring pulling. Yeah, like that is a good thing. We shouldn't get rid of that thing. And the person who manipulated that in these women, like it is just ridiculous. And it's time to stand up and just kick out the fraudsters. All right. You can tell I've been live streaming too long because my face is really red. And you can tell that I've been talking about Tim Ballard for too long because my eyes are watering. And you can tell that I've been talking about Mormonism for too long because my fists are just like clenched. You know? Okay. All right. So I was like making those jokes about how bullshit this excuse is. Katherine then reiterated to Blaze News that she still believes in her husband's fidelity. The couple's ruse created to protect his relationship with me. She said it was a way to stay virtuous. Yeah, you know what? A lot of people make up a lot of things. We also feel a responsibility to speak out. Woo woo. Go girls, go. The accusers offer a public statement. Several accusers, including at least one, or at least some who spoke with Blaze News, have since hired attorney Suzette Rasmussen to represent them. On Thursday morning, Rasmussen stood at the steps of the Utah Capitol to read a statement on behalf of her clients who have chosen to remain anonymous at this time. Here is the statement. So I've already read the statement before, but basically, in summary, it just says that these complaints filed with O.U.R was an internal investigation. We stand together to affirm the truth behind these allegations. Yes, those happened. We were engaging in a noble cause, and we were subject to sexual harassment, spiritual manipulation, and grooming and sexual misconduct, and that they're trying to rebuild their lives. They value privacy. They want to remain anonymous for now, and in time, they will reveal their stories. The women also gave Blaze News another statement via Rasmussen regarding their allegations against Ballard. We had no intention of going after Tim legally until he chose to publicly deny any wrongdoing. He has threatened us, attacked us, and continued to lie and cause further trauma. When we finally started to reach out to one another after being isolated and told to distrust one another, we discovered the extent of Tim's lies and realized how much he has manipulated, used, and profited off of us and so many others. We cannot stand by and allow him to do this anymore. Woo, woo. That's what it's all about. The sisterhood. Men are trying to tear us apart, calling us all bitches and hoes behind our backs. You can call me a hoe, but nobody else. This is the way they get it done. They get women to do their little bidding work saying, yeah, she couldn't do the couple's ruse as good as you do. And it's like, yeah, that dumb, lazy bitch, she doesn't know how to do it like you do. They just turn the women against each other. They think the worst things because of the men in power, that they've maligned these other women who are just other victims. And they cast these dispersions and doubts on these other women so that they stay isolated. They're coming for you, Tim. On Monday, Rasmussen announced that she is preparing a lawsuit. Woo! Lawsuit. Okay, lawsuits are like really harrowing and horrible and take a long time. But this is the first that I've seen because it said in the statement that they weren't doing a lawsuit, preparing a lawsuit. So the people can handle it. You know what? There might be a guilty verdict. You might get everything you asked for, Tim Ballard, conservative, rabid Mormon fans. You might get everything you asked for in a court of law. He might be found totally guilty. Then you got to deal with your excuses that it was all corrupted by some other elite pedophile ring that the jury was paid off. So plan your excuses now. That's my suggestion. You may use it. I actually got it from you because that's what you use on fucking everything. On Monday, Rasmussen announced she is preparing a lawsuit in connection with the allegation which she claimed had been known to O.U.R officials for several months. O.U.R, you guys are snakes as well. Step up and actually do the thing that you are paid hundreds of thousands of dollars a piece a year to be doing, which is ending the exploitation of people. Time to do the thing that you are paid to do. Support these women. You have the evidence that Tim is a actual sexual predator and con man. Yay, you could be heroes again. Does not represent O.U.R's values. Ballard's former organization and associates respond to the allegations. For many in Blaze Media's audience, the story may feel almost personal. After all, Blaze TV host and founder Glenn Beck has had a relationship with Ballard that goes back years. Many of Beck's listeners have also donated generously to Operation Underground Railroad in the past, as it was once affiliated with other nonprofits promoted by Beck. According to Beck, his audience has raised over $100 million. So I'm not going to let him get away with being like, you guys helped us raise $100 million. Thank you so much for that. That was various charities. We really appreciate that. And coming next, we want you to buy this other bullshit thing that I get paid to endorse right now. You don't get to have it both ways. You, Glenn Beck, are also a fraudster, and you take advantage of the gullibility of your audience. You have, and you always will. Just had to get that out there. After Rasmussen read the public statement on behalf of some of Ballard's accusers, all of whom were former employees and contractors who worked closely with Operation Underground Railroad, Blaze News was able to independently verify the O.U.R employment of two women. O.U.R issued another public statement that did not directly respond to a number of questions asked by Blaze News. So the statement reads, Operation Underground Railroad received an allegation of behavior that violated company policy. That would be the needing to do the tantric sex and different things in his office to maintain this. You know, it goes stale. We're not just constantly having sex. They smell the pheromones. So that's the allegation. That's the behavior that violated company policy by then CEO Tim Ballard. The organization immediately placed Mr. Ballard on administrative leave and launched an independent external investigation of the allegations. At the conclusion of the investigation, as previously stated by O.U.R, Mr. Ballard resigned. Yeah, I think resigned is a nice way to put it. Mr. Ballard's alleged misconduct does not represent O.U.R's values or others within the organization. Okay, tell us what does not represent O.U.R's values. Tell us what information you have. Tell us that you believe these women at bare minimum and that you support them, because they're kind of playing this like, well, we're just not going to comment on if they're true. We're just going to say, we don't do that stuff and we kicked them out. But when all of the Tim Ballard rabid psychopaths come in to complain that these women are paid off by the worst people in the world and that these victims are actually part of sex trafficking, O.U.R just like, I mean, I'm not gonna say anything. I mean, we know they're not, but we don't want to play sides, even though they gave up everything to work for our organization. It's called being a coward. Tim Ballard, all you wannabe alphas, this is the time to actually have some courage and actually do what's right. You guys are a bunch of beta cucks. Sorry to tell you. Mr. Ballard's alleged misconduct does not represent O.U.R's values or others within the organization. We expect all employees to follow appropriate protocols and to conduct themselves in the performance of their duties consistent with such values. To protect our operations and other law enforcement partners in the field, we will not comment further publicly about our operations procedures. We got to protect our operators. We don't want to say anything about the operators who don't work for us anymore, who have legitimate concerns with our founder. Yeah, we can see through it. You can say, also, yeah, these women are telling the truth, and we really fucked up. We let Tim get out of control. We let him run this business into the ground, and now they're just grasping for anything they can hold on to, because who the fuck is gonna want to support O.U.R after this? Oh, still millions of people because it's been a politicized issue? Damn it. O.U.R is dedicated to combating sexual abuse and stands with anyone who has been victimized. Anyone? What about people who have been victimized inside your own place? Did they just say anyone? What if I named like 7 for you? Could you give me a yes, no answer on those? O.U.R is sensitive to the privacy concerns of any individuals affected by this and is committed to upholding our duty to protect their anonymity. Okay, fair enough. Protect their anonymity. But if these women are like, this is a very Me Too, post-Me Too culture, we are afraid of these various people who will not believe us, who are attacking us, I just cower in fear. If that is what their statements are and that's what you know about them, legitimately, you can protect their anonymity while saying, yeah, we had the investigations, we know, and we're going to let them remain anonymous, but we're also going to say Tim Ballard is a sexual predator creep, dethrone him, deplatform him. He's done. Let everyone know we fucked up. We let him get away with sexually exploiting women. They don't want to say that. They don't want to say that. They still want to run their organization. So they're going to have to distance themselves as much as possible. Interesting. Yeah. That's not protecting anybody. That's protecting your asses just from the start to finish. I don't need a world where big corporations just protect their asses while stomping on other little people while pretending to save the kids. We have enough of that. The Mormon Church has that base covered. Okay. O.U.R's mission does not change, and we are committed to continuing our domestic and internal efforts in collaboration with law enforcement to rescue any and all from the scourge of human trafficking. Per O.U.R, Ballard left the organization permanently in late June, just a couple weeks before Sound of Freedom was released in time for the July 4th holiday, and the women suggested to Blaze News that removing Ballard from O.U.R while still preserving its reputation had always been their ultimate goal. Why should you have a good reputation? Full screen. I'm getting real angry. You heard me rant, but now I got to rant a little bit more. O.U.R, please, for the love of all that's been holy, tell me why you should have a good reputation. Tell me. Because you can say that your founder was a total psychopathic creep who did all of these things, and you're just like, whoa, you found out, and you're just like, get rid of him. Okay, you are not, O.U.R cannot possibly have a good reputation after this. One, we know that you guys have highly inflated numbers, and you've let Tim Ballard be your propaganda machine for his own self-aggrandizement this entire time. The very thing that he was able to groom and manipulate these women into sexually exploiting them to do for him is because of the platform that you have given him by allowing him to lie and manipulate the audience perception of him for so many years up to this point. So all of this is something that you guys have benefited from as well. So now it's time to pay the piper. Now it's time to be your big boys and your big girls, put your big girl and big boy pants on and actually step up to the fucking plate when there's a time when people are being sexually exploited. Oh, right in your own organization. Oh, would you look at that? Now is the time where you actually get to say, okay, we have benefited handsomely from letting Tim Ballard lie for us, for letting Tim Ballard use these inflated numbers and propaganda, and his entire family is on the fucking board at O.U.R, and they don't want this gravy train to end, but they want to hide behind this mask that they save children from sexploitation, the worst thing in the entire world, while they themselves don't have a single ounce of courage to actually stop it when it's actually right in front of them. Just like Jimmy Rick said, where it's like sometimes we'd go into these foreign countries for like 3 days and we'd just be like these white guys from America flashing around money and we couldn't find any sex trafficking. Your organization, O.U.R, how could it possibly still have a good reputation after your own operatives have come out and said that your training, regardless of all the sexual exploitation that was happening, was laughable, was bullshit. It was like driving around Salt Lake and doing scavenger hunts. It wasn't the Navy SEALs. It wasn't anything that you pretended that it was. So how could you possibly want to still maintain a healthy mindset and organization when your operatives know that your founder is a fraud? Your operatives know that your operations have been the only word that comes to mind right now in my angry live stream brain is just like loserdom. Just like you run the organization based on like this alpha male macho power where you actually don't understand how systemic issues are solved. You've allowed your fan base to malign actual people who work in an expertise of ending sex trafficking, acting like anyone who opposes your tactics and Tim Ballard's tactics of dropping into other countries, that they somehow work for the sex traffickers because criticism equates working for sex traffickers, as if systemic issues that involve large networks of change that have a scary word of socialism based around them, that you were able to profit off of the misinformation and the fanaticism of your own fan base. And now when it's time to do the thing, it's on the line. You've got it. O.U.R. It's right there. You can just support the victims, like you say that you do, or you can still say, what do they say here? We just have our ultimate goal, preserving the reputation of O.U.R. What? How can you possibly preserve this reputation? It's a flaming bathtub of a ship that is on the ocean with 17 giant squids pulling it down into Ursula's chamber. Have I painted the picture for you? You're on a fucking sinking ship. I hope nobody supports O.U.R. and actually understands how systemic change happens and sex trafficking is avoided. If you watch my last video, again, we talk about that and we go over how Tim Ballard saves the kids versus how experts save the kids. If you want to actually have a good reputation, the one thing that you could do, like literally the only thing, like the last ditch effort, not even because you know it's the right thing, like the only thing that could save your reputation right now is actually owning up and saying that you allowed these things to happen within your organization because you were too afraid to challenge your founder, to challenge Tim Ballard. I thought we had won, one woman said. The goal was accomplished, which was to remove the cancer from the organization and still allow it to continue even stronger than ever. That was the goal. I disagree, but I just would do. I'm saying the people who enabled that behavior in the first place and profit off of all of the other fraud conmanship, I'm not saying those are going to be the best people to run the organization. I'm saying the goal and mission, the idea could be good, but structures in place that allowed that to happen those are going to be kind of hard to reform. Tim's buddies are not going to want to, just completely change their tune, and suddenly it's an organization that's in tip-top shape. It's hard to believe. Ballard disputed that he left on account of the investigation, telling Blaze News that he always intended to leave O.U.R. by May 11th, 2023 to avoid the appearance of conflict of interest. Now that is funny. I have read a lot of things. Thank you, Tim. That is the funniest fucking thing you have ever said. And I have heard everything, Tim. I have heard you say that there are furries in the bathrooms of junior highs in Utah, that the janitors have to scoop out kitty litter poop because furries here today and then people choosing their age to be pedophiles tomorrow. I have heard some wild things, but for you to say you were afraid of the appearance of the conflict of interest, do people not know? I cannot for the life of me, if there is a single solitary Tim Ballard supporter after everything, if you watch my entire videos, including this one, and you do not realize how transparent this man is, where it's like, I'm always in the right. Like everything that ever needed to be done in the most kosher above board way possible, that was me, and everyone else is lying. Like, man, as somebody who had lied before, at least like you have to say half, like say like 80% of the truth, and people be like, oh, they wouldn't admit that much. They were like, this is insane. He said he stepped down out of his own free will and choice to avoid the conflict of interest with the film. If you know anything about Tim Ballard's past, and you got to watch Lynn Packer's videos on this, but he and his whiteboard, just think about his whiteboard. He is a conflict of interest machine. He literally he was born, popped out of his mother's womb and said, Mom, give me a whiteboard. I have a master plan on how to conflict all of my interests for profit. And she said, here you go, Timmy. And he squiggled it down and he put it under his bed every night. It is his most cherished prized possession is his conflicts of interest. He wouldn't know what to do without it. He'd probably drop dead. He also claimed that he began announcing his intention to leave O.U.R. last October and voluntarily resigned in the first week of May. A source familiar with O.U.R. denied that Ballard ever made such an announcement. Everyone else is crazy but you, Tim. You have the perfect memory, except for when it's inconvenient to remember anything. And then everyone else is a crazy liar and bitch. Or that Ballard left the organization in early May. The source confidentially stated that Ballard left as a result of the internal investigation regarding alleged sexual harassment. When asked for comment by Blaze News regarding the allegations against Ballard, Glenn Beck provided the following statement. All right, Glenn, take us home, Big Papa. I find the allegations against Tim Ballard deeply troubling. I can only hope that the truth prevails, justice is served, and all involved will use the free gift of Christ and repent, turn to him, correct their errors, and let the atonement of Jesus Christ work miracles in their lives. It is the only thing that can repair brokenness. My intentions and those of the thousands in my audience who have generously contributed to O.U.R. were to help save God's children from the scourge of human trafficking. May the Lord heal this mess so that this important work can continue. Well, I guess I'm a fan of Blaze Media now. It's your old girl came around and she is interested in your reporting. Well, you heard literally everything I have to say. I have not withheld a single opinion. If you want to know anything else, I have other videos. I just hope that Mormonism and people in these circles can understand what a con man looks like, what a fraud looks like, what a cult leader looks like, and speak up instead of just assuming that people in your circles can do good things, can do no wrong, and stand up and stand in your power. All right. Thank you guys. Please, for the love, support these women. Say anything that you can in the comments and across the media platforms. If they continue to speak out, let them know that they're loved and that they're heard, and drown out the voices of all of the rabid Tim Ballard fans. And I hope they know that I'm proud of them. Hope you, my audience, are proud of them for speaking out and giving this story to Glenn Beck. Big congratulations to them. It sounds like a really unwelcomed long series of exploitation and horrible things in their life, but we are trying to shine a light on systems and a culture and certain doctrines that enable certain behavior. And this is just an unfortunate thing that has happened, but we're gonna expose it and keep talking about it. So if you like these Tim Ballard updates, let me know. If you are sick of them and you say, Kara, where is the Mormon history hoedown we're talking about? These topics are too relevant. Please talk about something that happened 2 years ago. Trust me, I want to. All right, I hope I got all of the super chats. I hope I got all of the love that I am able to receive. Check out my other live stream that I just did today. Go watch the other videos that I put on my channel. I'm super proud of the 3-hour one that I did about why Tim Ballard is a cult leader. Super proud of that one. I researched that one for a really long time and excited to keep talking about all of these things. And I cannot do it without your support. So if you want to become a donor to this channel, I have all the links below. I run my own super actual above board 501c3 nonprofit. All donations are tax deductible in the United States. So if you make them through Venmo or donor box, it's a write-off, basically, you know. So be generous, follow your heart on that one. Recurring monthly donors are awesome. Go over to Hoedown, where I have my Patreon, patreon.com/nuanceho. Follow me on all the things and let me know what videos you want to see from me next. And I will, again, if you're done talking about Tim Ballard, we can absolutely kick this guy to the curb, just like the church and just like his wife is about to. All right. That's it for me. Love you guys so much.